We've created the database, we've created the tables, we've created the fields, the primary keys, the field types, and the field properties. We know what information we want to store, but how do we match a customer's name to their charges and payments? We need a way to relate these two tables to extract useful information. We can relate the client and payments table by joining the client ID on both tables. We can relate the client table and the charges table by joining the client ID also. We can relate the payments table and the payment method table by joining the payment type and the method ID. To relate or join the tables, click on Database Tools, click on Relationships, move all your tables from the All Access objects to the Relationship window. You can also add the tables to the Relationship window by clicking on the Show Table icon, and then click on Add to show the tables. Move the tables as shown in the Relationship window and join the tables. To join the tables, click on the Client ID in the Client table and drag it to the Client ID in the Payments table. Notice there is a one-to-many relationship between the Client table and the Payments table, which is denoted by a 1 to the left of the Client table and an infinity sign to the right of the Payments table. Let's take a look at the relationship diagram, which is a graphic schematic of the layout of the database. The Client table has a unique client ID for every client in the table. The Payments table will have multiple records for a client if the client makes multiple payments. Thus, we have the one-to-many relationship. The client ID on the Client table is the primary key in the relationship, and the client ID on the Payments table is the foreign key in the relationship. The Client table is called the parent, and the Payments table is called the child. Notice how we depict the one-to-many relationship in the diagram. One to many. There are a few rules when joining tables. Number 1, there must be a primary key in at least one of the tables in the relationship. For example, the Client table and the Payments table are being joined by the Client ID fields in both tables. One of the fields being joined in this relationship must be a primary key. In this case, the primary key is the Client ID field on the Client table. Number 2, the related fields must be the same data type and the same field size, be it number, text, currency, etc. Number 3, the foreign key field must contain the same information as the primary key field. For example, the relationship between the Client table and the Payments table is joined on the Client ID in the Client table and the Client ID on the Payments table. Both of those fields contain like information. 99% of the time, when you are creating relationships, you want to enforce referential data integrity, you want to cascade update related records, and you want to cascade delete related records. Let's talk about the concept of referential data integrity. Referential data integrity is a set of rules that specifies what records may exist in each table. For example, we are joining the Client ID in the Client table with the Client ID in the Payments table. A payment in the Payment table without a corresponding Client ID in the Client table will not give you much information. As a matter of fact, you'll not know which client to post the payment to. If you enforce referential data integrity, you must have a record in the Payments table with a Client ID that matches a Client ID in the Client table. If you enforce referential data integrity, you should also cascade delete related records and cascade update related records. If you click the checkbox Cascade Delete Related Records, removing any entry in a primary key field will automatically remove all entries in the foreign key fields of the related tables. For example, if you delete J7500 in the Client table, it will delete all of the children in the Payments table. Why do we do this? Because we don't want any orphans. A parent can have 0, 1, or many children, but a child must have a parent. If a child doesn't have a parent, again, we know that referential data integrity has been violated. Therefore, we cascade delete related records. If we cascade update related records, updating any entry in a primary key field will automatically update all entries in foreign key fields of related tables. For example, if I changed client ID J7500 to J7599, all of the children with the client ID of J7500 will change to J7599. The final slide in this PowerPoint presentation is the relationship diagram for the research papers database. Make sure you understand all of these concepts.